The air in the Winslow estate was thick with the scent of expensive pine and the suffocating weight of 300 years of ego. My mother sat in her high-backed velvet chair, a queen presiding over her court, while my 6-year-old twin stood before her. She didn't offer a hug, she offered a lesson. When Leo unwrapped his gift, the heavy, industrial-grade janitorial belt inside clattered against the marble floor. My daughter, Mia, pulled out a monogrammed staff apron, her small face crumpling in confusion. "Every empire needs a foundation," my mother remarked, her voice as cold as a morgue. She didn't look at my children, she looked at my brother's son, who was currently revving the engine of a $5,000 miniature electric Ferrari. The golden lineage is born to rule. Your children, however, need to understand the dignity of service. They are the support, not the stars. My brother laughed, the sound sharp and jagged, as he told my son to make sure the driveway was salted before his new car hit the pavement. I didn't scream. I didn't even breathe. I simply took the belt and the apron, dropped them into the silver champagne bucket, and walked out into the freezing night, before I reveal the digital ghost I left in the family's offshore accounts. Tell me, have you ever been treated like a guest in your own home? To understand why I didn't shatter that champagne bucket over my brother's head, you have to understand the architecture of the Winslow lie. For a decade, I was the ghost of the C-suite. While my brother, Julian, spent his afternoons on yachts, I was the one translating his drunken scribbles into actionable venture capital strategies. My father called it protecting the brand. He told me that Julian's face was the asset, but my brain was the infrastructure. I was the silent partner in my own life, the insurance policy they cashed in every time a lawsuit loomed or a merger faltered. 3 years ago, when the Winslow Trust hit a liquidity crisis, I didn't hesitate. I liquidated my 401k and sold my stake in a promising tech startup, nearly $400,000, to bridge the gap and save the family estate. My mother cried as she thanked me, promising I'd be taken care of. 2 weeks later, she bought Julian a limited edition watch to celebrate his resilience. That was the moment I realized I wasn't an heir, I was a donor. They didn't love me, they loved the stability I provided. I was the engine they kept in the dark, and they forgot that without the engine, the car is just a very expensive piece of scrap metal. The cold calm that settled over me during the drive home wasn't anger, it was clarity. I sat in my darkened office, the blue light of the monitor reflecting in my eyes like a winter frost. I logged into the Winslow core server, my fingers moving with the precision of a surgeon. My plan was simple: decouple my proprietary algorithms from the family's wealth management software and walk away. But as the directory loaded, my breath hitched, the access logs were screaming. Under an admin tag I didn't recognize, Julian_successor, someone was systematically reassigning the titles to my 3 most profitable urban developments. They weren't just taking the income, they were transferring the deed to a trust exclusively for my nephew. My phone buzzed on the mahogany desk. It was a photo from Julian. He was holding a glass of $500 scotch, standing in the lobby of my flagship building. The caption read, "The rulers need a kingdom, little sister. Thanks for building it. We've terminated your consultancy. Don't worry, we'll send you a reference for a housekeeping agency." The chain didn't just break, it evaporated. They thought revoking my badge was the end. They didn't realize that in the digital world, I didn't just live in the castle, I was the one who laid the traps in the floorboards. The New Year's gala was a sea of black ties and forced laughter, held in the very ballroom I had renovated with my own sweat and capital. I stood at the velvet rope, my name scrubbed from the guest list, watching Julian prepare to take the stage. He looked like a king, but he was a king wearing a stolen crown. I didn't argue with the security guard. I simply waited for Marcus Thorne, the family's biggest rival and a man who valued a sharp mind over a polished name, to emerge from his limo. With one quiet word about a due diligence error, he ushered me in as his technical advisor. As Julian stood before the investors, boasting about the Winslow vision, I pulled out my phone. I didn't need a microphone. I just needed the Wi-Fi handshake. I watched him click to the final slide, the one that was supposed to cement his ownership. My thumb hit execute, the screen didn't show a contract. It turned a violent, flashing crimson. Every laptop in the room chirped in unison as a system-wide alert overrode the presentation. Unauthorized access. Intellectual property locked. Ownership reverting to original developer. Julian's smug grin dissolved into a mask of pure terror as the investors began to murmur. I stepped out from the shadows, the blue light of the screen reflecting in my eyes like a blade. The kingdom is closed, Julian, I whispered into the silence. The staff is going on strike. The silence that followed was a physical weight, broken only by the frantic tapping of Julian's useless clicker. My father tried to intercept me in the hallway, his face a mottled purple, his voice a low hiss about family loyalty and the greater good. But he had forgotten that loyalty is a two-way street, and theirs had been a dead end for 30 years. I didn't stay for the excuses. I didn't wait for my mother's tears, the kind she used like a weapon when her pearls failed to intimidate. 6 months later, the Winslow name is a footnote in a bankruptcy filing. I didn't just take my code, I took the $400,000 loan back from their joint accounts before the frozen assets could be seized. I bought a small, sun-drenched studio overlooking the park, the one my children now play in without fear of being measured against a cousin's shadow. On my desk sits the staff apron my mother gave Mia, now framed in glass. It serves as a reminder that those who build the world don't have to serve those who merely inherit it. For the first time, the air in my home doesn't smell like old money and secrets. It just smells like morning.